Well, I hope that you've had a good day today. I know it's been a couple weeks since we've had an online video, but we are back to studying the book of Job. But before we do that, as always, we want to let you know that if you are sick, please let us know so that we can be praying for you. And if we can do anything at all for you, we just ask that you would ask us. I don't think we have any announcements, so we will jump into the book of Job. Several weeks ago, you might remember we were in Job chapter 13, so we'll be in Job chapter 14 tonight. So if you haven't read Job chapter 14, please pause the video and go read that, and we'll be ready to dive in. But before we discuss Job chapter 14, I want to go back and just recap what we talked about in chapter 13. You'll remember Job starts out, he says, "Behold, my eyes have seen all this, my ear has heard it and understood it. What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you, but I would speak to the Almighty, and I desire to argue my case with God. As for you, you whitewash with lies, worthless physicians are you all. Oh, that you would keep silent, and it would be your wisdom. Hear now my argument, and listen to the pleadings of my lips. Will you speak falsely for God and speak deceitfully for him? Will you show partiality toward him? Will you plead the case for God? Will it be well with you when he searches you out, or can you deceive him as one deceives a man? He will surely rebuke you if in secret you show partiality. Will not his majesty terrify you and the dread of him fall upon you? Your maxims are proverbs of ashes, your defenses are defenses of clay." So Job really wastes no time in chapter 13 going after the friends. He starts out kind of upset because the friends are treating Job as if he's inferior to them. And Job says, no, hold on. You guys, you're supposed to be telling me something that I don't know about, at least as to why I'm suffering. But you haven't told me anything new. You've told me everything you've said. I already know. Okay, you guys think you're so wise. You think you're so superior to me, but you're not. I know as much as you do. So Job tells them, hey, your wisdom would really be if you would just shut your mouth, because you guys say things and you have no clue what you're saying. In fact, the things that you are saying about God, they're not true. And you better be careful about that, because God will hold you accountable for that. Not only are you saying things about God that aren't true, but you're showing partiality. And even if you're showing partiality to God, that's not right. So Job really gets at him with that, and he continues to rebuke him. He keeps going in verse 13. "Let me have silence, and I will speak, and let come on me what may. What should I take? Why should I take my flesh in my mouth and put my life in my hand? Though he slay me, I will hope in him, yet I will argue my ways to his face. This will be my salvation, that the godless shall not come before him. Keep listening to my words, and let my declaration be in your ears. Behold, I have prepared my case. I know that I shall be in the right. Who is there who will contend with me? For then I would be silent and die." Job tells the friends, guys, you sit back, okay? You shut your mouth. That would be your wisdom. I want to talk to God, because talking to you guys, it's getting me nowhere. Nothing good is coming from it. I want to go to God himself. And Job says, and when I get to God, I have my case already made out. And we can see how Job is becoming more and more bold in the way that he is speaking to the friends, but also speaking about God. Job, he thinks he's in the right. I want to talk to God, Job says, verse 20, "Only grant me two things, then I will not hide myself from your face. Withdraw your hand far from me, and let not dread of you terrify me. Then call, and I will answer, or let me speak, and you reply. How many are my iniquities and my sins? Make me know my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face and count me as your enemy? Will you frighten a driven leaf and pursue dry chaff? For you write bitter things against me and make me inherit the iniquities of my youth. You put my feet in the stocks and watch all my paths. You set a limit for the soles of my feet. Man wastes away like a rotten thing, like a garment that is moth-eaten. Job wants to go to court with God, and he tells God, God, only grant me two things when I come to court with you. Number one, let not the dread of you terrify me. Let me come into your presence. But not only that, withdraw your hand from me. Take away all the suffering and all the pain that you've put on me. Let me be at peace for a moment so I can, maybe think clearly to argue my case against you. He also tells God, God, when I come to court, it doesn't matter who speaks first, but God, when you speak, you better be ready to tell me why I am going through what I'm going through. You better make known to me my transgressions. You better show me the sins that I have committed. That's chapter 13. Job, chapter 14, Job continues to speak. And this is what he says in verse 1. Man who is born of a woman is few of days and full of trouble. He comes out like a flower and withers. He flees like a shadow and continues not. That's a pretty depressing way, I guess, to open chapter 14. Man who is born of a woman is few of days and full of trouble. He doesn't live long, and he experiences emotional turmoil all throughout his life. That's humanity in general. Man, everybody's born of a woman, so everybody's going to experience few days, that is, as opposed to many days on the earth, which would be a blessing. But Job says, no. Man who is born a woman is few of days and full of trouble. He comes out like a flower and withers. He flees like a shadow and continues not. This flower comes out and withers. You might maybe think of, I don't know, Palestine. It rains and flowers will grow, but they quickly wither because of the heat. He flees like a shadow and continues not. You can go outside and you can look at a shadow, and throughout the day that shadow will continue to grow and grow and grow, but eventually it's just gone when night falls. Verse 3, and do you open your eyes on such a one and bring me into judgment with you? Now we're getting back to like the eyes of God. You might remember that Job has already talked about this. Like God always has his eyes on Job, and he's watching him constantly to see if he's going to mess up. And he's always watching him because when he sees that he messes up, he'll bring it to Job's attention and he'll afflict Job with all these different things. Job's already talked about the eyes of God. It's not good, Job thinks, that God constantly watches him. And do you open your eyes on such a one? Well, who's such a one? Well, the one that's born of a woman and is few of days and full of trouble. What Job is getting at is humanity is weak. Humanity is frail. And if humanity is weak and frail, God, how is it that you will continue to watch them continually to the point that you just watch and watch and watch until they mess up? Now, what's interesting is Job, when he says man is who is born of a woman is few of days and full of trouble. He's talking about humanity in general. But in verse 3, watch how he transitions to himself. And do you open your eyes on such a one and bring me into judgment? It's like God is constantly watching humanity, but he specifically is like looking at Job and waiting for Job to mess up. And then he wants to bring Job into judgment. And Job says, God, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense because humanity is weak. Humanity is frail. You know that humanity can't come before you in judgment and win. Verse 4 is kind of odd. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? That there is none. Verse 5, since his days are determined and the number of his months is with you, and you have appointed his limits that he cannot pass. Look away from him and leave him alone, that he may enjoy like a hired hand his day. Now, we already know from verse 1 that a man who is born of a woman is few of days. Job gets back to that idea. Life is short. Life is short, but life is also hard. Since his days are determined, God has put a cap on how long a person can live. He's determined how long everybody is going to live. He's the one that only ultimately knows when a person is going to expire. You might remember Psalm chapter 90. Psalm chapter 90 in verse 10. We'll start in verse 9. For all our days pass away under your wrath. We bring our years to an end like a sigh. The years of our life are 70, or even by reason of strength 80. Yet their span is but toil and trouble. They are soon gone and we fly away. Now that's Psalm chapter 90 verse 10. The years of our life are 70, or even by reason of strength 80. So what is, as far as the Old Testament is concerned, what is the ideal limit to life? 70 years. 70 years is the ideal life limit in the Old Testament. Or it says by reason of strength, 80 years. Life is short and life is full of trouble and life is full of misfortune, and Job knows that, so he asks God to look away from him that he may enjoy like a hired hand his day. You think of somebody that's a hired hand that goes out and works all day, and they work very hard and they work long hours, but at the end of the day, they're finally able to get some pleasure when they lay their head down at night to get some rest. That's what Job wants. It would be better for Job if God would just look away from him, and God ought to look away from him because human life is short, and God ought to just let Job have some joy. Verse 7. For there is hope for a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that its shoots will not cease. Though its root grow old in the earth and its stump die in the soil, yet at the scent of water it will bud and put out branches like a young plant. But a man dies and is laid low. Man breathes his last, and where is he? Notice how man is contrasted with a tree. A tree, Job says in verse 7 that there's hope for a tree. That's odd because trees don't have hope. So what is Job really trying to get at here? Well, what Job is getting at is you can go and you can cut down a tree, and guess what? A shoot can come. A new tree will grow. In Palestine, that was common. If a tree stopped bearing fruit, the farmer would go out and he would cut down the tree, because if he cut down the tree, a shoot could come up, a new tree would form, and it would bear fruit once again. When a tree dies, there's still hope for the tree. A stump can rot and it can die. I guess we should say not rot, but it can lay dormant And eventually, if it rains on it long enough, it can grow again. There's hope for a tree if a tree dies, but Job says there is no hope for the man, because when a man dies and is laid low, man breathes his last. And where is he? Good question. Verse 11, as waters fail from a lake and a river wastes away and dries up, so man lies down and rises not again till the heavens are no more. He will not wake or be roused out of his sleep. Will a man rise again after he dies? Well, Job doesn't think so. Does Job think that people will be resurrected? Doesn't seem like it. The tree has hope. The man doesn't. After he dies and that's it. Verse 13, oh, that you would hide me in Sheol, that you would conceal me until your wrath be past, that you would appoint me a set time and remember me. God is the cause of Job's suffering. Job says that when he says that you would conceal me until your wrath be past. Job wants God to put him in Sheol, because if he can go to Sheol, he won't experience the things that he's experiencing. God will have time to cool down, and once God cools down, Job could come back from Sheol. But that's a problem, because we've talked about Sheol before, and Sheol is the place of no return. It's where a person goes and is forgotten about and is remembered no more. So how is Job going to be able to come back? Well, he says that you would appoint me a set time and remember me. God, I want you to put me in Sheol. And then I want you to put a reminder for yourself, set up a marker that when you cool down, you'll remember Job is in Sheol and I need to bring back Job. Verse 14, if a man dies, shall he live again? All the days of my service I would wait till my renewal should come. You would call and I would answer you. You would long for the work of your hands, for then you would number my steps. You would not keep watch over my sin. My transgression would be sealed up in a bag, and you would cover over my iniquity. What does Job think about a resurrection? Well, not much. That part hasn't been revealed to Job. But Job wishes that he could leave the earth for a while, go to Sheol, come back from Sheol, live his life out in joy and peace. If God would just cool down when Job would come back, their relationship would be better. God would number his steps and he wouldn't keep watch over Job's sin anymore. He would seal up Job's transgression in a bag. Job wouldn't be have to give an account for his sins then. Verse 18, but the mountain falls and crumbles away, and the rock is removed from its place. The waters wear away the stones. The torrents wash away the soil of the earth, so you destroy the hope of man. All this about wanting to leave the earth for a little while until God cools down, it's just wishful thinking on Job's part. Job knows that's not going to happen. So Job's hope is like the landscape that's been run over by rushing water and torn to pieces. Job says in verse 20, you prevail forever against him, and he passes away. You change his countenance, and you send him away. His sons come to honor, and he does not know it. They are brought low, and he perceives it not. He feels only the pain of his own body, and he mourns only for himself. There's no hope for Job, at least in his mind right now. We're going to discuss those verses beginning next week. I hope you have a good rest of the week. And if we, again, can do anything for you, we just ask that you would ask. Can't wait to see everybody Sunday. God bless.